Hey guys, another Saturday morning chat. I don't know if anybody will be in here or not, but we'll go ahead and kind of get this going and maybe wait I say get it going, then I say wait. Um, but get the video going so that it shows as a live stream. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But um, I am trying to make the Saturday morning chat a little bit more of a regular occurrence on the channel. Just kind of getting back into that groove. I used to do a Saturday morning chat. Gosh, I'm going to say it was almost 2 years ago. It was pretty regular, and just kind of talking about what's going on in the shop, what projects are coming up, and then a little bit of the thought behind it. And I think it's kind of cool to share what's coming up and those thoughts, because then you sort of get in the brain of the person making whatever it is. And at least for me, that's an interesting. Sorry, my chair is caught on something here. There we go. That's where I want to be. But it's an interesting thing to look into the mind of a maker. And I don't know that my mind is really that interesting. But I know other guys that I watch and follow. It's always really cool when they do a voiceover or when they talk a little bit behind the scenes of what was going on, so that I guess, the constraints and the parameters that are involved in the project. Sometimes it's budget, sometimes the size of something is important, sometimes certain aspects of how something functions becomes the driver in how the final piece gets built. So I want to do these Saturday morning chats as a little bit of that. Not that I want to get too heady on it or anything like that, but I think all of us face similar challenges, whether the projects are similar or not. The challenges are generally similar. Sorry, I'm having all kinds of trouble with this chair. It keeps wanting to roll away on me. But the challenges are similar. And I think when we see how other people solve similar challenges, it helps us work through the problems that we're dealing with in whatever projects in the shop. I know, yeah, like I say, getting inside of people's minds is great, but then also watching them work and technique and probably order of operations is as important of a factor in all of this as anything else. So, and besides that, it's just kind of cool to get on here and hang out. I see Belgian Muscle. Hey, good to see you. But yeah, no, absolutely. It's great to see how other people tackle obstacles. You can go about solving the same problem 500 different ways. And of course, the more you solve that same problem, the more efficient you're going to be at solving it. And hey, Cecil, how's it going this morning? Good to see you. Hey, we haven't seen a video from you in a long time. I don't know how the Mustang's doing, and my goodness, I think you were gathering up some machine shop tools, and I know you had a big TIG welder and some other things. We needed just an update. Just turn that record button on, Cecil, and show us what's going on. But yeah, it's just great to see how other people solve things. I think it helps us work through problems a little bit faster. And sometimes that time savings allows us to either do a detail that we weren't normally able to do simply because the detail was more time consuming. Well, if you save time in one area and add it to another area, you get to do more. The end result is a higher value. So it sounds like Cecil lost his computer and the video editing software. Man, just turn on your phone. I think you can upload directly from your phone. Just do a one take video. I know I've done those in the past. It's always a little bit, I don't know, nerve-wracking or whatever, but YouTube definitely has the software just to upload from your phone. But up to you. I don't want to force anybody to do anything they don't want to do, that's for sure. But it's just always good to see guys and their projects, especially, we've been following these things, some of them for several years, and it's always cool to see where they land. But today I did want to talk a little bit, I got to move some things out of my way, about a couple things. And again, these videos, what's up, Daryl? These videos are intended to go over the project maybe that I put up that week. I don't know if I'll have a video every single week. It's a great goal to have, and I know a lot of guys have this schedule and whatnot, but I think reality sets in. I'm not a YouTube star. I don't do this full time, and the weekly video sometimes gets overrun by whatever else is going on in life. So I'll try and put up as often as I can. Hopefully that's every week. I usually do a project out here. I don't always shoot it because it is more time consuming if you're going to film. And Tech for Your Needs, how's it going there? And Master Wrong, how's it going, guys? But this week's project was the Potter's Wheel, which is sitting right here below my hand. So if we just aim the camera down a little bit more, you can see this thing. And I'm just operating it with my foot. If you watched the video or if you didn't watch the video, this is a copy of Terry the Texas Viking. It's a little bit of a copy. It's an adaptation of the Potter's Wheel that he has for welding. And the big idea is you stick your piece in the center of it, and you can spin it as you weld, and that way you can weld around corners and everything else without having to stop. If you've seen the video, you know that this thing, and I don't know that I can lift it out of here quickly enough to do this. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I can. Hang on, I got one more click. The one thing that I'm a little bit disappointed in, this button, this release button that clicks it into the pipe that's below the table here, this is a little bit more wobbly than I want it to be. So it's not riding perfectly flat on the table. So it wants to wobble because this joint isn't stiff enough. So, sometimes a lot of the projects I do are a prototype, and I think that's true for most of us. We're not going to make 20 of these. And so you've got to make it knowing that you're going to make some mistakes, knowing that some things are going to have to change. They actually sell a Lazy Susan bearing, and it's for if you just want a Lazy Susan in the middle of your dining room table or something. You can set it on there. So I'm going to buy one of those. It's just a big circular bearing. It'll sit flat on the table here. And what it'll allow me to do is sort of slam this all the way down, and then it'll ride on that bearing, and whatever's happening in this shaft, hopefully that'll be taken up. I thought about building this up with weld and grinding it or something. I don't have a lathe. The lathe would absolutely be the right answer here if I could hit this with a lathe, or doing some kind of a solid bar that goes into the pipe that just fits a little bit tighter than what this does. But I think the bearing will do it, for $10 or something like that. I think that'll solve this problem. We'll see. But even as it wobbles right now, it's super useful, and it works. And I've already put it to use welding a couple of little things here in the shop over the last week. Hang on, I'm going to put this back together while I'm thinking about it so I don't come out here and screw something up. But yeah, I mean, even with these simple projects, there's always a challenge in there, and there's always problems to solve. And it should click in here somewhere. There it was. Hang on. There it goes. So it's clicked in now. So we're back to normal operation. And the wobble isn't anything terrible, but you can see I can move it side to side a little bit. It's just a little bit loose for my taste. So yeah, drill it through and bolt it in. I did think about that too, because that'll tighten the whole thing up. I may try that. I also thought about doing a collar. Let's see if I can hold that to the camera. A collar with a slit down it so that the collar can tighten, and then just do a couple tabs on the side of the collar, and that would pull everything in nice and tight too. I'll try a couple things, but I am going to go, I think, buy that bearing here probably this morning, and we'll get going on that. Let's see. Yeah, I gotta clean my hands up because I'm getting ready to handle some stuff that I don't want a bunch of dirt on. So other projects in the shop today, I've got the start on, and I showed these maybe last week. Hang on. These are the neck rests I make for guitars, and so I've got side one done on a couple of them. So essentially what I do is I route down as far as my CNC will let me. So this is about 1.5 inches. Whole thing's about 3 inches wide. And then I go to the bandsaw and just kind of rough them out. Then I have, I thought I'd show this off. This is a cool little jig. So to flip it and get the second side, that's always the key, right? That separates the men from the boys on the CNC. If you can flip apart and pick up and get exactly where you need to be. So you can see there's a little crosshair, maybe, hold on if I can get it in front of the camera. There's a little crosshair right there, and that allows me to zero the CNC out in an exact spot. And then this guy goes in there. We'll call it good side down. Hang on, I gotta look at this. I can't do it in the camera. There we go. It fits pretty tight, so good side down. And then I usually have a little piece of board that I put in there, and then I tighten this bolt against it. And that registers everything against this lower edge. The lower edge goes against the, I'll call it a fence on my CNC machine. And everything registers together. Doing wood in a CNC is not as precision as doing metal in a CNC. Metal, you can hold tolerances of half a thou pretty easily. In wood, if you're hitting 2 thou, you're doing pretty good. So I'll definitely go in there. There'll be a little bit of a joint line, and then that all gets taken out on the belt sander. So I got a couple of those to flip today and do second sides, which is always kind of cool. They start to look like a part once you get that done. But yeah, so that's one of the, I guess, production projects going on in the garage today. But then I know some of you all subscribe to my other channel, which is Skyscraper Guitars, and it's purely guitar related. And I know I talk a lot about that, but a lot of the stuff that goes on here in my shop is guitar related. I just try and not beat my Greg's Garage channel to death with guitars. But one of the projects I have going on today is on this baby. So this was as I bang it off the metal parts here in the garage, this was a kit guitar from Crimson Guitars. I know a lot of guys follow them recently. I think Matt Cremona and April Wilkerson went out there to build guitars. And so Ben's gotten a lot of publicity in the maker world. I've been sort of internet buddies with Ben for, 6 or 7 years, back when he was in a garden shed, and now he has this huge shop and warehouse. I mean, like massive. He's got, I'm going to say 15, 20 employees. He has a full luthier school there. It's amazing. But I bought this kit as a Kickstarter to help fund. He was going to buy a CNC machine and some other things that cost a fair amount of money. And so he was selling kit guitars on Kickstarter. I thought, yeah, you know what? I want to support the guy. I don't necessarily need a kit guitar. I could build this from scratch, no problem. But I did buy it from him, and it's got an ash body. I think this is English ash, if I were to guess. But then it's got some pretty sweet lace pickups in there. These are called Death Bucker pickups. And then I CNC'd the pickup surrounds here. So these are out of Bloodwood. And then carved the top. It came as a flat top project, which is cool. But I carved the top, and it's got a Wenge fretboard. So if you look at that, God, I got to get some of this metal stuff out of the way, or I'm just going to damage this guitar. It's a really cool looking wood. I don't know if we can get it dark enough to where the camera will want to brighten up. But you can see it's just a really interesting looking wood, very hard, very splintery wood. And then I did a custom inlay on the headstock. So the guy who made the kits is named Ben Crow. I see you, Randy. Thanks for joining us. It doesn't matter if you're late, it's okay. But this is a crow, and you can see its beak here, and then there's a foot down here, and then its wings are kind of raised. So it's an angry crow. Ben Crow's the guy at Crimson Guitars, so I thought I'd put a crow on the headstock. Again, the headstock's out of Bloodwood. Pretty cool looking piece. Man Crafting, Chad, how's it going, man? Then locking tuners and some other cool guitar nerd things. But now that the guitar is kind of done and assembled, the playability, there's some issues on the frets down here. There's some high frets, and it frets out notes, and so it sounds bad and has buzz and so forth. So what I'm going to do today, one of the guitar tools that actually Gary from Ramsey Customs is helping me with, and then Tom from Tom's Tool Room actually made this one. So both guys have helped me work on this product. Yeah, Ben and the guys are absolutely incredible dudes, and he's given me a lot of inspiration and a lot of behind-the-scenes pep talk, I guess is how I would say it. Ben's been a great mentor for me, is how I would call him, just seeing how he's done things. But this is a sanding beam, so these are made to machinist tolerance. So I think from end to end, this is less than half a thousandths out of flatness, and definitely Randy knows what I mean there, how difficult that can be. So these are hand lapped on a surface plate to get them that straight. And what I do is I use roll sandpaper, so just this stuff that body shop guys use. Mirka is the kind I like, and then I have 180 and 400 grit, and they go on these two narrow edges. And I use this to level the frets. So essentially, I get the fretboard. There's a truss rod in here that allows it to either bow. Gosh, it's hard to do hand motions looking at the camera. It allows it to bow this way or this way, depending on how you adjust that little truss rod in there. So we adjust it to get perfectly flat. Put the guitar on a neck rest like you see here. And some people use a caul that goes all the way down the neck. And then essentially what you do is you take this and you micro sand the frets so that they are perfectly level. So you mark them with a Sharpie or whatever you want to use. You mark them and you make sure that every one of them gets hit and that they're flat. Once they're flat, then you go in and you re-crown the frets so that they have a little bit of a crown to them. And then you polish them up. And it's the difference between, if you go buy a cheap guitar off the shelf, say a $150 guitar, it will have none of that work done. If you buy a PRS, they hand level all the frets on every single guitar they put out. So you can take a very inexpensive guitar and make it play like a very expensive guitar simply by doing really good fretwork. One of the other tools, I always find these interesting to show off, especially for folks who aren't in the guitar industry, just to see what kind of tools we use. So this is a notch straight edge. So the notches in here line up perfectly with the frets on a guitar. So I'm going to have to move the camera just a little bit. Hang on, guys. And so these line up perfectly with the notches on a guitar. I just need to flip it around. So now I can put that on here and I can shine a light behind here and I can see if my fretboard is perfectly level before I start the process. So that's what's going to be happening in the shop today. I'm going to be leveling the frets and crowning the frets on here. I'll have a video. It'll probably be a couple weeks on my guitar channel. I actually have some video in the can from back when I was still in Kansas City when I painted the guitar. I need to get that edited and put up. But Skyscraper Guitars is where that will be if you want to follow along. It's even if you don't like guitars, I think guitar projects are so cool in that the form factor and how they go together and the precision that's involved in putting a guitar together. It's a pretty persnickety. It's right up there with hand cut hand cut dovetails for sure. Maybe even a little bit more difficult than that because everything on the guitar is that level of detail. So yeah, that's what's going on in the shop today. No welding, no metal work, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know which one. But yeah, that's all I wanted to hop on here and give the update. That's about 20 minutes. I think hopefully I haven't bored everybody to death. If anybody has any questions, I do always like to say that. If you have any questions or thoughts, put them in the chat and I'll get to them before I sign off. And if nobody does, that's okay too. We can sort of part ways and everybody can get on with their day. So let's see. Sorry for the long pregnant pause. I'm just waiting to see if anybody has anything in the chat. I do enjoy seeing everybody out there, and I do enjoy following everybody's both YouTube videos and Instagram feeds and all that. Those are the two that I'm on most. Am I still driving the Ghia? So the Ghia is right back there. I drove it last on Wednesday, and it's been, I don't know if we're still technically in monsoon season out here in Colorado, but it rains almost every day. So I do drive the car whenever it's not going to rain, and a lot of times I come home at lunch because I only work about 3 miles away from my house, which is awesome. So I'll come home at lunch, I'll drive it to work in the morning, and then afternoon is usually when we have the thunderstorms. But yeah, I drive it maybe not every day, but probably 2 or 3 days a week. And every time I drive it, I'm just in love. There's no doubt about it. It's one of my favorite things. I would tell you if my house were burning down, I think there are 2 things that I would make sure I got out. One is my Blue Kramer guitar, and the other is the Gia. And of course, I'd get my wife out. Don't even think about that one. But she would come, and then the car and the guitar would be the other two things I would grab. So let's see. Weren't you going to do some work on the Gia? Absolutely. So I have. Where are they? They're behind me somewhere. I do have another set of carbs on there, or on my bench right now. I need to get jets for them. So once I get the jets for them, I'll pop those carbs on there. I've also got some Gene Berg linkage that I need to adapt over once I put those carbs on. So that'll all sort of happen as the same project once I get the jets in. I haven't ordered them yet. They're going to come from AJ Sims out in California. I like the type of work that he does. So yeah, absolutely. Always doing work on the Gia. In fact, I got to change the oil on it today and adjust the valves. That's just general maintenance. And around here, I tend to do that every probably 2,000 miles is what I shoot for. No more than 2,000 miles because of the hills. And I just don't want the car to get chewed up. It's way cheaper to change the oil than it is to pull the engine apart and have machine work done and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Love the Gia though. I do need to clean it up. I'm thinking about, anybody who's a nerd in the German car world will know that German car manufacturers tend to use square weave carpet, which is extremely expensive. I think there's only one maker in the world who does a real square weave carpet, and it's super expensive. I want to say it's around $1,000 for a carpet set, but man, it looks so good. And when I built the car, I bought the cheapest carpet I could get. I think it was $120 or something like that, and with the caveat that someday when I had a few coins rolling around in my pocket, I would look back into the square weave. It just looks so nice, and it finishes out the interior of the guitar, finishes out the interior of the car so well. So I think I'm going to do that. It may not be here in the next month or two, but hopefully that'll be something for me to work on over the winter if I can scrape together a few bucks to put that together. So anyway, I don't see any other questions popping up. I appreciate you guys hopping on and following along with me today. Hopefully we'll be able to get together next Saturday and do the same thing. And I think I might have a video for next Saturday as well. I think I've got one in the can about doing all the brickwork that you see behind me. So that's all thin brick that I did when I moved in. And I've got a video that I've been putting together for quite a while. I just need to shoot an intro and an exit, I think, is all I have left to do on it. So I'll probably put that out next week, and then we'll get together and I'll talk about installing the brick. And that was actually a really cool process, and I think it's turned in. I love it. I love having the brick in here. It just feels, I don't know, it doesn't feel like a garage. It feels like a workshop because of that. So anyway, with that, guys, I am going to sign off. Again, thanks for joining me. We'll see you next week.